Self-help groups are separate from professional treatment. They are non-professional, and professionals should not engage in running self-help groups in their professional role. But as we talk about this in this video, we're going to talk about it from the professional counselor's perspective rather than the self-help group's perspective. I can't speak for any self-help group, but I'm going to try to explain to you how the professional counselor would incorporate referring clients to self-help groups as part of their professional treatment. Many substance abuse counselors are themselves in recovery. Mental health counselors may be surprised at how many of their clients have substance abuse problems. I recommend that both types of counselors familiarize themselves with self-help groups. In this video, we're going to look at some of the things a counselor needs to know about Alcoholics Anonymous and other self-help groups. Why do professional counselors refer clients to self-help group? One important reason is that professional treatment is time limited. The client may be in treatment for 30 or 60 days or 90 days. Mental health counselors will see their clients for 1 hour a week, but the client has 167 other hours each week they need to stay clean and sober. Self-help groups can help bridge those gaps and can stay with the client after they end professional treatment. Another reason professional counselors refer clients to self-help groups is that the 12 steps embody a process of change, and the 12-step groups provide a support system to help clients maintain their sobriety. When we talk about self-help groups, we're largely referring to AA as the oldest and largest of the groups. Narcotics Anonymous is another group, and there are many other 12-step groups, some of them focused on specific problems. There's a Celebrate Recovery from a religious perspective, and there are some non-12-step groups available. But in most places, there are very few groups other than Alcoholics Anonymous, and for that reason, we're going to focus on that as the typical self-help group. Some other self-help groups the professional counselor should be aware of: Al-Anon for the family members of the alcoholic, Alateen for the teenage children, and Alatot in some places for younger children. There are equivalent groups for those people who have family members who are addicted to drugs. There are also dual diagnosis groups in some places for people who have both mental health problems and substance use disorders. And in a very few places, there are mental health self-help groups, although the majority of those groups are facilitated or sponsored by professional counselors. In this video, we can only cover a very small tour of recovery land. First, some AA history. AA began in 1935 with a meeting between Bill W. and Dr. Bob, who became the two co-founders. It expanded with the publication of the Alcoholics Anonymous book, and I highly recommend that counselors get a copy of the AA book and read it. Farther along, Alcoholics Anonymous developed a system of sponsors and sponsorship. This was not originally part of the program, but it became important as the number of newcomers entering meetings were so much larger than the people who had achieved sobriety, and there was a need for sponsors who functioned sort of as tour guides to the land of recovery. Sponsors are people who have worked the steps and therefore are able to help the newcomer learn those steps. There's also a thing to know about AA. The 12 steps are followed by 12 traditions, which are rules for how meetings should be governed and run, and 12 concepts of service, which are how AA handles its contact with other groups. One thing the counselor should know is the distinction between meetings and fellowships. Meetings occur once a week at a particular location, a bank, a school, or even a church, but they are not a part of those other groups. They are specifically an alcoholics meeting. A fellowship is a group of people who get together, rent a room, and that room is solely for the purpose of having AA meetings, which might occur 20 or 30 times a week in that one location. In larger cities, there are more fellowships, and for new people in recovery, I highly suggest that, because it's nice to know that every night at a certain time you can go to the same place and find a meeting. A little bit to know about AA culture. Each meeting is autonomous, although they all have general traditions that they follow. So things may vary from one meeting to another, and meetings have unique personalities. I encourage counselors to go around and visit a few meetings and see how they're the same and how they're different. Many meetings begin with some readings, and these are selected passages out of the Alcoholics Anonymous book. They may have a sign-in sheet which is passed around. The normal behavior is to sign in with your first name and last initial. That's in keeping with the idea of anonymity. You're not required to sign in, and the point of the sign-in sheet is to help the person chairing the meeting know who to call on as the meeting progresses. If you're there as a student to watch, you don't need to sign in, and if you're called on, it's perfectly acceptable to just tell them that you only want to listen. You can introduce yourself and say you're there as a part of a class assignment. There's a thing called the seventh tradition, which is a time at which the basket is passed around the meeting and people contribute. The idea is that only members of Alcoholics Anonymous should contribute, and in a further slide I'll explain membership. But if you're simply there to observe, you're not expected to place money in the basket. AA is strictly funded by its own members. There's a thing that has grown up called court cards, which could be from a court. There's no particular form, though some courts do hand out a card they want signed as proof that people are attending meetings. This is not a part of AA, but is a courtesy that the secretary of the meeting usually does for people who have been told they have to go a certain number of times. If you want something signed, you should go early, put your court card into the basket or give it to the secretary, wait until the end of the meeting, and then go up and retrieve it. There's also a lot of controversy about the God thing, but you'll find that there's no particular religious requirement. Some people use that I don't believe in God as an excuse not to attend meetings, but in fact many atheists and agnostics attend, and people of all religions attend AA meeting. It's only necessary that the person believe in something higher than themselves, and that's why it's often referred to as a higher power. It could be a moral code or any particular philosophy that they will follow. Professional counseling, particularly substance use disorder counseling, often includes a component called 12-step facilitation. The professional counselor needs to understand the 12 steps and may teach those steps to the client, but they don't actually work those steps with the client. Working the steps is an ongoing process, probably for the rest of the client's life, but one he should do largely with his own sponsor. In an upcoming video, I'm going to walk you through the 12 steps as a therapeutic model and see how a counselor can assist clients who are using the 12 steps as a process of change. What's ahead on the Counselor Soapbox video channel? More videos on drug counseling, drug education, mental health, and wellness. If you've enjoyed this video, please click the like button below. Comments are always appreciated. And if you want to see new videos in this series, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. For more information, please visit my blog, counselorsoapbox.com. David Joel Miller fiction and nonfiction books are available on Amazon.